Hello everyone, welcome back. Welcome back to another reading vlog. I'm in a little bit of a predicament. We are Friday, December 27th today. So that means we have, if we're counting today, 5 days left of 2024, which is bad for me because I want to complete my 2024 Goodreads reading goal, but I am 4 books away from reaching that goal. And I'm really determined to reach my reading goal. This would be the most books I've ever read in a year. My goal is 60 books and I've read 56 so far. So I just really want to make it. So that's what this video is. I'm just going to be mood reading and just reading as much as I can to reach my reading goals. I need to be strategic with the books I read. I'm most probably going to just be reading standalones because I feel like in a series, books are usually a lot longer, and obviously if you start a series, you have to get into the series, so it could be a little bit slow. But I need something that's very short, fast-paced, entertaining, and just quick and easy to get through. So the first book I think I'm going to be reading is The Boyfriend by Frida McFadden. She is my go-to author when I need to get out of a slump, if I want something fast-paced. So I think I'm going to pick up this book. I don't really know what it's about. I think I'm just going to go into a blind. So basically today it is 1:10 p.m. Hopefully I'll be able to finish it tonight or early tomorrow and we can just start the next book right away. But I'm kind of in a slump. Not that I don't want to read, it's just I don't know what to read. I've been scrolling through Goodreads to see potential books I can read, and I just don't want to read any of the books I'm seeing. So it's going to be difficult, and I need to pick a book fast because I don't want to spend time thinking of what I should read when I should just be reading. Hopefully by the time I finish this book, I will have a next book in mind to read. But anyways, I'm going to stop talking and I'm going to start reading. I've been reading for the last little while. I just reached chapter 29 and I'm about 50% into the book. This book follows 2 timelines, one in the past about Tom and one in the present about Sydney. Sydney has bad history with dating. She's dating in New York City and has been on some awful dates until she meets this one guy who becomes her boyfriend, and he seems very perfect. But simultaneously there are a lot of murders happening to a lot of women, and it seems that this serial killer is dating women that he's dating. So there's that suspicion going on. Obviously when we're reading, I feel like the book makes you think of one specific direction, but after reading a few of Frida McFadden's books, there's always going to be a plot twist. So I have a feeling that like this is not as it seems. I feel like the main character is kind of dumb though. I feel like because she's been on so many bad dates, her standards are so low that anything a guy does that is the bare minimum she thinks is perfect. So that's kind of like the only like irking thing about this book. It'll be interesting to see how things play out, especially with like the past timeline of Tom and kind of getting his backstory. We'll see how it goes. So I finished The Boyfriend by Frida McFadden last night. I've decided I'm giving this book a 3 stars. The ending I definitely did not expect, but I feel like I can never actually guess the plot twist in Frida McFadden's book, so that definitely took me by surprise. However, I just feel like this book, it was just okay. I wasn't really ever on the edge of my seat, and even though the plot twist I didn't see coming, I didn't necessarily love it. I don't know, I just didn't feel like this book really kept me on my toes or anything like that, and I feel like the ending was kind of weird, like how everything concluded with all the characters. I just like didn't really expect it to go in that direction even after finding out the plot twist. It was kind of like anticlimactic for me, so it's not one of my favorite Frida McFadden books, but it definitely did its job. I finished this book in a day, so I'm grateful in that aspect that it took me like this quick to read it. I'm now down to needing 3 more books to read to complete my reading goal. But the next book I decided to pick up, I never really thought I'd ever read it, mainly because it's not a genre that I usually read. You saw yesterday I'm reading The Predator by Renix. It's part of the Darkverse series. The reason why I decided to pick this book up because I was thinking like I need something super fast paced, something that will capture my attention very quickly, and something I don't want to put down so I don't stop reading. And the last book and last series that I feel like I read that really gave me those feelings was the Mindfuck series by S.T. Abbey. And that's a dark romance. And that was the first ever dark romance I ever read. So I was like, you know what, going off that, maybe I should try another dark romance, even though dark romances are really not a genre I gravitate towards, but that one I really loved. So I decided why not to try another one. And The Predator, I never read the description for it. I went into it blind. I've just seen it circulating like on the internet. Just decided, hey, why not, let me give it a try. So I picked this one up last night and I didn't really make that much of a dent into it yet. I'm on chapter 6, so I'm around 24% into the book, so nothing's really happened much yet. But this book is a mafia dark romance, which is like the first book I've ever read that's like a mafia romance, besides if you count like the Daisy Hates books and the Magnolia Parks universe. But I do like those books, so you know what, maybe it could be a little promising. But from what I gathered so far, this book follows Marana and Tristan. They are both in mafia families, but they are enemies to each other. And Marana, she's a very smart woman. Basically, she wrote these codes that have the potential to destroy both of their families if taken in the wrong hands, and her ex-boyfriend stole those codes and sent them to Tristan, who's in like the enemy family. So basically, chapter 1, the book starts with Marana wanting to go kill Tristan to basically get the codes back. Starts off really high stakes, and basically she finds out that Tristan doesn't have the codes. So the whole storyline is about how Tristan and like his brother want to work with Marana to get those codes back, because I forget what was exactly said, but the codes have the potential to just destroy both the families, like expose so many things, and they don't know who has them. All I know so far, I know that this is a romance between, I think, Marana and Tristan. I haven't really felt a connection yet. They definitely hate each other. Tristan hates her for some reason, like beyond than just like them being in rival families. So I don't really know exactly what's going on with him. We haven't really gotten much any of our main characters, so hopefully like the book will explain more of their backstories and just like more about their personalities. So far I feel like it's weirdly like fast-paced and not fast-paced, because the book starts off like really just getting into it, like no introductories, nothing. But it took a little while, like up until this chapter 6. Marana has now agreed to work with them, but thus far like there were many instances where they kind of meet up and Tristan like tries to convince her and she says no, and like there were a few instances like that where I'm just like, okay, like can we just like get to it where she accepts and now move on. So I just got to the part where she does, so hopefully the book is probably going to start picking up even more now, which I'm excited. I mean, I don't really have any opinions on it yet, but I'm not hating it, which it's like a good sign, because usually, like I said, dark romances aren't really my thing, but we will see how it goes. One thing I have to appreciate about this book is that I know it's a dark mafia romance, so morality is just like out the door, but the author specified that the two guys, they don't like to harm women and children, and I appreciate that, because if this book was about like human trafficking or anything like that, probably wouldn't want to read it. So I'm glad they cleared that up. So I just reached chapter 13, and that means I'm about almost 60% into the book. I'm not bored with the book, but I just feel like not much is happening. Like we don't really have plot. Like the whole situation with the codes, Marana has teamed up with like, the rival family with Tristan and his brother Dante to figure out, you know, who has it and to try to get it back, but not much has progressed with that. Like in between, we're kind of getting stuff happening between Marana and Tristan, but even at that, like nothing's happening between them. There have been some instances where Marana has been in danger and Tristan has kind of saved her, but the characters don't really interact with each other. They kind of just like are in proximity with one another and they kind of stare at each other, and you know that there's this tension between them and this attraction. There's not many like conversations happening, especially with Tristan. Like, we don't really know anything that's going on with Tristan because we only get Murano's POV. Like, I have no idea what's up with Tristan. Like, we know that he hates her for a unknown reason, like, but he's done a lot of kind things for her. And I'm just like kind of confused about their dynamic, and nothing has been revealed yet. Like, we know that there's a specific reason for his hatred towards her. I know I'm going to learn about it eventually, but I just feel like right now there's so much unknown and there's not much that's necessarily happening. So I'm just a little lost with the direction of the book because the plot's kind of non-existent. We know a couple things, like besides the codes, there's also people kind of threatening Murana, and maybe that's going to be a plot line, but I'm not really sure what exactly that is yet. And then like we have the romance between Tristan and Murana, even though like nothing's actually developed yet. They kind of just stare at each other, weirdly enough. We've barely had any conversations. I'm just like looking forward to get more insight into Tristan because obviously since it's not his POV, like I have absolutely zero knowledge on his character or anything like that. I'm hoping it picks up because it's like 60% into the book now. I am going to continue reading. I'm really hoping to finish this book, probably not tonight because it's already almost 11 p.m. but hopefully I'll be able to finish this book in the morning and then start another book tomorrow. Yeah, we're the 28th right now, so I have like 3 days until the new year, so I really need to grind it out. Yeah, that's how I'm feeling so far, and like I said, I'm hoping things progress further. I actually like low-key guessed that, but I didn't actually think I was right. This was just like a thought that came into my head, but oh my god, it's actually okay. I think things are gonna start getting revealed now, so I'm excited. So it's been a while since I filmed. We are December 30th. 8 p.m. right now, and I've just been busy over the last couple of days, so I'm honestly a little bit behind schedule in where I want it to be with how I'm progressing, but I'm still determined to meet my reading goal even though I have like 1 day left to complete it. First things first, I did end up finishing The Predator by Renix yesterday morning. You saw me. This one I gave a 2.75 stars. It was honestly disappointing to me because I picked this book up assuming that it would be action-packed and I wouldn't be able to put it down, even though I know like dark romance, like mafia romances aren't my thing. I just assumed that stuff would be happening in this book, but nothing did. Like, this book was so much filler in my opinion. As a first book, you would expect like to be introduced to the world, the plot line, the story, the characters. I feel like there were so many questions unanswered, and I feel like I just didn't learn anything about the story. The book was mainly like her monologue, our main character, rarely any dialogue between her and the love interest. I feel like the whole plot line and how this book started, we kind of strayed away from. The whole situation with the codes, like that barely progressed in here. There was kind of like this secret that did get revealed by the end of the book, but that was literally the only thing that happened in this book. The rest was just inner monologue, and through it we didn't get any information because our main character had no idea what was going on, and it really was just disappointing. But I did finish it, so I'm really happy that I did. And then I jumped right into the next book, and I'm reading Carrie Soto is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I actually have made it to this much of the book. I'm on page 209, and I've actually just listened to the audiobook. Last night I ended up writing out my goals for the new year and making my vision board, and was listening to an audiobook while I was doing it, and I managed to get like 50-ish% into it, a little over 50%. So I think honestly I am going to rely on the audiobook for it because I know if I didn't listen to the audiobook I wouldn't be as far into it. But this book follows our main character Carrie Soto, who is a renowned tennis player. She is one of the best players in the world, and this book starts off with her deciding to come out of retirement. She's 37 and she decides to do so because she wants to defend her titles since another upcoming player is threatening her record. She's a very harsh and brutal character who's very determined to be the best and win and You can tell from her personality she's definitely not the warmest person, but she honestly doesn't really care how she's perceived by people, and she doesn't care about kindness. She's just determined to win. We got a backstory of her whole career before she retired, and now I'm at the point where she's training to play again. So far the journey is pretty interesting to see her having to relearn everything. I definitely think that the audiobook is helping my enjoyment. I do think that if I were reading it without it, I find it a little slow, and because it's so heavy on tennis, and obviously I know what this book is about, but it's hard for me to kind of get into. But yeah, I'm not loving it, I'm not hating it. I honestly have like zero opinions on it, but I'm gonna go ahead and listen to the audiobook now. I'm really determined to finish this book tonight. That's my update on Carrie Soto, and I'm gonna go finish it right now. So it's the next day, and I finished Carrie Soto last night. As you guys saw, I decided I'm going to give this book a 3.5 stars. I feel like the second half I enjoyed a lot more than the first half of this book. Like I said yesterday, I do feel like the first 50% was a little bit slow, but by the second half I feel like we got really right to the point. We went through all of the games pretty quickly with a little bit of training in between, so I feel like I flew by the last half. I feel like Taylor Jenkins Reid does a good job of writing nuanced characters who are oftentimes unlikable, but even though Carrie is very flawed, I still ended up rooting for her, and I appreciated reading her journey, and I resonated with a couple of passages in this book, and to a certain extent I could relate to how her thought process was. And this book was definitely about Carrie needing to let go of her ego, and I appreciated the message that TGR was trying to tell through Carrie. I think though that other aspects of the book she could have delved deeper into. For example, the dynamic between her and her dad. It's a very interesting dynamic because he's her coach and her dad. Felt like we could have gotten a little bit more into that relationship and explored it a little more. Yeah, those are my overall opinions on this book, and now I only have one last book left to read, which I actually already started last night too. The book is The Love Wager by Lynn Painter. I really wanted a romance book, and this one is very short. I think it's only like a little bit over 300 pages, and I know I'm gonna get through this one really quickly. I got to chapter 11, which is about 38% into the book, so I got a good chunk of it last night. This book is about our two main characters, Jack and Hallie. They meet at Jack's sister's wedding. She's a bartender there. They end up having a one-night stand. After that, each characters decide that they want to individually find a serious relationship, not with each other, so they both download a dating app, and Hallie ends up finding Jack on that dating app. She decides to text him to say like, oh, you know, I had a great time, whatever, and they form a friendship, and then they decide to kind of make a bet where whoever can find a serious relationship first wins, and they'll like plan dates at the same spot and then kind of debrief on it afterwards together. My first impressions of the book though, if I'm being honest, aren't that great. I feel like her writing at times is a little weird to me. I just feel like some of the metaphor choices and like, examples that she uses are a little like wacky to me. I don't know how to explain it, but in the first chapter we have an exchange of dialogue between the two main characters, and to me it just felt like you could tell that it was written. It didn't feel like a natural conversation two people could be having in real life, or even the main characters' inner monologues and what they think. I don't know what it is. I just feel like certain word choices it takes me out of the book. I'll be reading something and it just makes me realize that I'm reading a book, and I just feel like it doesn't flow that nicely. So yeah, that's an issue that I have. But other than the writing, I do like the premise of the story. It feels like this could be like an early 2000s rom-com. Those are all my thoughts, and I'm gonna go ahead and finish this book today. I'm literally not gonna stop reading until I finish it, and I'll come back with all of my final thoughts later. So it's the next day and we are officially in 2025. I'm happy to say that I finished The Love Wager by Lynn Painter yesterday at around like 5:30. So I completed my reading goal, which I'm really happy about. So I've decided I'm going to give The Love Wager a 3.5 stars. I feel like my issue with the writing just went away by the time I got more into the book. I don't know if I just got used to it or it was just kind of the beginning that felt a little off to me. But yeah, I had no issues with the writing as I started progressing into the book. I really like the direction of this book. I remember, I think it was around like 40% into the book, I kind of felt like, okay, you know, they're friends, they're going on dates, but nothing more is happening until fake dating happened. They basically went to Hallie's sister's wedding and Jack was her date, her fake date to the wedding. And if you know anything about me, I eat up fake dating. I don't know what it is. I just love that trope so much. So I was very pleasantly surprised by this. It was in the synopsis, but I didn't read it on Goodreads, so it was a surprise to me. So I feel like that kind of picked up the story because I was questioning, is anything else going to happen? Like, what's going to shift the story, change, make them get together? I really liked the story. I didn't feel that much towards it. Like, I have no emotional connection to this story, so that's why it's like a 3.5. But it was entertaining and it took me really quickly to get through, which I obviously wanted from this book. But yeah, that concludes this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed and hopefully I'll see you in my next video soon. Bye.